when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. I'm Julian Skeet, and we're just at about 7:41 a.m. This morning, and we're heading into our next interview, where we'll be speaking with Taramatie Rampersad, Labour Inspector 2 of the Ministry of Labour, and she should be joining us online at this point. Good morning to you, and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your program this morning.
I hope I got the pronunciation of that name right.
You got it correct.
Excellent, excellent. All right. So as we start this morning, we're chatting in relation to minimum wage. Most certainly, we heard the announcements being made by the Minister of Finance and the current government as it relates to the introduction, and it takes effect from the 1st of January 2024. So let's start with some of the very basics in terms of reminding us of this new minimum wage, and what does it really mean in the context of Trinidad and Tobago when we identify the terminology minimum wage?
Okay, so the minimum wage, as you know, was in effect from the 1st of January 2024. And what this really equates to, it's $20.50 per hour, and it equates to $164 for an 8-hour workday, $820 for a 40-hour work week, and $3,533.33 for a monthly paid worker.
All right. Tell us a little bit some of the persons that this will apply to, because you hear some people saying, far and wide, yes, it's minimum wage, but the increase don't really affect me. Let's get a better sense of some of the actual workers scenarios or examples in terms of that benefit from the introduction, for the increase rather, of this minimum wage.
Well, in almost all spheres in the country, all spheres of work, there are minimum wage workers. You will find minimum wage workers in the groceries, and the hardwares, and the pharmacies, in the retail sector. Most stores in the retail sector, the catering industry, people who work in the hotels, people who work in restaurants, people who work in the markets. Across the sphere, there are minimum wage workers. Anyone who earns $20.50, which is the new minimum wage, is the law now. They have to be paid no less than $20.50 per hour.
We're talking about, of course, minimum wage. Does this apply? You said anybody who is working for at least, they must work for at least, $20.50. So this includes migrants, temporary workers. What are the types of categories of people that you would find primarily earning the minimum wage in this scenario?
Yes, it applies to, the law does not discriminate. It applies to migrant workers. It applies to the nationals, non-nationals, documented workers, undocumented workers. The law does not discriminate. It applies to all minimum wage workers.
And what are the entitlements of a minimum wage worker?
Well, first and foremost, to be paid the minimum wage, which is $20.50 per hour. But I just want to add here that even though the minimum wage is $20.50 per hour, it is applicable to workers who earn up to $30.75 an hour. It's 1.5 times the minimum wage workers it's applicable to.
All right. I want you to tell us a little bit in relation to, I want to deal with those who say, nobody ever find we if we don't pay that. And you may have those few, let me say few, in Trinidad and Tobago, because I'm hoping your statistics says that almost everybody complies with what is required. What are the penalties to be applied, and how it is the monitoring mechanism and so on, because I want to assume that's one of the responsibilities that falls within the Ministry of Labour. Tell us a little bit about that mechanism so as to ensure far and wide, and for places where you may not have an officer showing up to check, tell us what are the opportunities that are available for someone to report. So if I know that I have a cousin somewhere down in Kwaito working and they're not benefiting from the minimum wage, how do I respond?
Well, the Labour Inspectorate Unit of the Ministry of Labour is the enforcement arm, and we are responsible. We are charged with that responsibility of enforcing the Minimum Wage Act and the orders, right? If a worker is not being paid the minimum wage, we service walk-in clients at our head office, which is located at 50 to 54 Duke Street, Port of Spain. And our telephone number there is 299-0300, option 3. Also, we have walk-in clients can go to our San Fernando office, which is located at 40 to 42 St. James Street, Wassa Building in San Fernando. And the number there is 285-5133, option 4. Also,
penalties,
if you
right?
cannot come, if you cannot visit us, you can send us an email if you want any clarification. You can send us an email at labor.inspector@gov.tt.
All right. Tell us about your connection as well with I know there's a labor section also operating here within the Tobago House of Assembly for persons in Tobago who may want to make a similar report.
Okay, well, labor inspectors, we do not have labor inspectors in the THA. So what happens is that labor inspectors from Trinidad, they visit Tobago once a month, and they respond to any complaints that is reported. So they spend at least a week in Tobago, and they try as best to see if they can rectify any issues that workers may be having from time to time.
Right. In terms of the penalties, for instance, if we have employers who are refusing to, or who trying to, do it under the table or kind of get away from the system and the policies that have been implemented as it relates to minimum wage, what type of penalties can be expected for that type of an employer?
Well, all employers are required by law to keep records. And if they do not keep records, the penalty for not keeping records is $15,000. And if a worker is being paid under the minimum wage, the penalty for that as well is $15,000.
All right. And for workers who are looking on, listening to this interview and wondering, where could they find more information? What are some of the sources of information outside of interviews like these to be able to get those details to really ensure that they are covered and taken care of?
Well, we depend on programs like yours to sensitize the public on what is a worker's right. We also share information with employers, because employers sometimes are not aware of the legislation. So we work with employers to achieve compliance. Workers can visit our head office at Port of Spain or our San Fernando office, or use the email to make complaints, or to say, let's say, if they have any queries or anything they want to find out, they can use the email, or they can find information on the Ministry of Labor's website, which is www.labor.gov.tt.
All right. From where you sit, would you say with confidence that Trinidad and Tobago is compliant, and I see the smile on your face, is compliant as it relates to when we have changes like these in terms of increased minimum wage, or is there usually a battle to ensure that everyone complies? What would you say is the rate of success based on your experience in the ministry over the years? Because certainly this is not the first increase that we have seen it happen before in terms of overtime.
Well, we do have employers that do not sometimes pay the minimum wage. When a report is made, the inspector goes into the establishment. Some of the powers of the inspector is to enter premises, interview the employer as well as the worker, and inspect records. And we try to work with the employer to achieve compliance. Failing that, if they do not comply, the matters can be referred to the industrial court for determination.
All right. Again, we just want to get some information in terms of where we could find a worker, an employee who is, probably thinking that they are underpaid, or they're not being paid the minimum wage. How do they access your services again? Please remind us of that. How do they contact you? How do they reach you? Where do they find you?
All right. We have statistics at the Ministry of Labor, and the most prevalent issue we have is payment of overtime. So if the employee brings a complaint to the Ministry of Labor, we investigate. And like I said before, you can visit our Port of Spain office, which is located at 50 to 54 Duke Street, Port of Spain, or San Fernando office, 40 to 42 St. James Street, San Fernando, Wassa Building. Or you can send the email to labor.inspector@gov.tt.
And in the Tobago instance, I know you said that the officer will come to Tobago. Is it that a request has to be put in for the officer to come to Tobago, or how often or how regular is that visit to Tobago?
No, we have a monthly schedule of inspectors visiting Tobago, and they visit the THA. The THA has a Department of Labor who would also have information on complaints that are reported. These complaints are passed on to the inspectors who schedule visits and investigate the complaints.
So is it like a standard period, the first week in the month, the second week, anything that we can communicate to the general public, or you'll give us that commitment to let us know the schedule?
It's sometimes the second week in every month, but that is subject to change and availability of flights and hotel accommodations and so on.
All right, certainly. Well, we look forward to that update so that we know definitely when it's happening. Just before we close this morning, for those people who may be saying they may be in the upper grouping and not necessarily benefit from the increase, just tell us very quickly in terms of the statistics, what numbers or percentage of the population of workers actually benefit from an increase like this in minimum wage?
Well, 190,000 people is going to benefit from this new minimum wage. So we are hoping that employers, I want to stress that employers should pay the $20.50 per hour, and they should also maintain records. The law requires you to keep records for 3 years to ensure compliance.
Is it safe to say that this is a minimum wage, and I probably want to put it out there so employers don't feel you can't go above? This is only the minimum.
That's right.
It is exactly what it is, a minimum wage. It doesn't mean to say you cannot pay someone more. You can pay workers more, but up to we are enforcement officers, and we enforce the minimum wage up to, there's a limit. The limit is $30.75 per hour.
All right. Thank you so much again. Any additional information very quickly that you would want to share in closing this morning?
I would like to encourage employers, again, as I said, to pay the minimum wage and also to keep that record. The record is what will determine whether they are in compliance or not. So I am asking employers to please keep the record and pay the minimum wage of $20.50 per hour.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much there again, Taramatie Rampersad, Labor Inspector 2 of the Ministry of Labor, joining us here this morning to provide some insight and information as it relates to the new minimum wage that takes effect in Trinidad and Tobago. That took effect from January 1st. And I just want to remind you, contact information for those persons following up with the Ministry of Labor. You have 299-0300, that's option 3. That's in Port of Spain, San Fernando, 285-5133, option 4. You can visit the main offices located there on Duke Street, Port of Spain, 3rd floor. That's Wassa Building, St. James Street. You can also contact them via email, labor.inspector@gov.tt. That's labor.inspector@gov.tt. And if you're right here in Tobago also wanting to do visits, be reminded that they are in Tobago at least 1 week in each month, usually the second week, subject to change at times, but you can feel free to call the ministry to confirm when they will be here, or even check in at the division, the Labor Department, to seek to confirm when they will be here. And all additional information is available via www.labor.gov.tt and the social media pages of the Ministry of Labor. Thank you very much again for joining us here on set this morning. As we continue to bring you the information, viewers, we want to remind you that this is your opportunity. In fact, as we prepare for our final interview this morning, we're going to be chatting with Shireen Sebro, owner, and I like to say Shireen Tie-Dye Sebro, owner and designer of Shireen's Tie-Dye. If you see her and you know her, she's in something tie-dye all the time. And when you think you see her in a normal outfit, she might even pull out a tie-dye rag to wipe the sweat from her face. Certainly continuing to recognize and to celebrate Tobago excellence going forward. We look forward to that upcoming interview, and at this point to remind you viewers that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.